Hey there guys, and welcome back to Dino Reacts. Let's get talking Resident Evil Extinction. So Resident Evil Extinction was released in 2007 and actually takes place 5 years after the events of the last movie. We quickly find out that the T-virus actually went global and pretty much annihilated the entire world. Now we also find out that the T-virus at the same time dried up many of the lakes, rivers and the ocean itself during this entire pandemic. The movie, it definitely does borrow from other movies, particularly Day of the Dead and Mad Max, but I don't mind that too much. I thought the costume design and the cinematography in this one is one of the best in the entire series. It is very unique and it's something we hadn't seen before in a zombie movie. Particularly an apocalyptic movie, it looks like something we've seen, but when you kind of throw zombies into the mix, it does make it a lot more unique, particularly to the overall series in general. We also get the return of Alice once again with new powers and a lot more trauma in this movie than she had with the other ones. At this point it is set 5 years later and she's seen a lot of death, particularly with people around her from the last two movies. She's definitely a lot tougher in this movie and a lot harder, and she also kind of turns a little bit more into a superhero. I didn't mind that too much in this movie in particular. You know, she does have these new powers and she is still as badass as she was in the last films, but at the same time she has a lot of emotional weight that she's carrying in the movie, and that just helped with particular scenes with returning characters and new characters. Speaking of new characters, we get Claire Redfield from the game series in this one. I will say the character in this movie of Claire Redfield, I didn't mind her at all. Ali Larter from the Final Destination series came on board and played the role of Claire Redfield, and just as a character on her own, she is kick-ass in the movie. She has some great scenes throughout, particularly with Alice. Just like Jill Valentine, when both characters are on screen together, they work best rather than when they're in separate scenes individually. But I will say she is not Claire Redfield for me anyway from the game series. Claire in the series itself, she's a lot more gentle, she's a lot more relatable than the Claire we get in this one. In the movie itself, Claire, she's a lot tougher on the outside. She doesn't take shit from anyone, which is fine, but it's just not the Claire Redfield we'd come to expect from the games themselves. We also get the return of Carlos and LJ in this movie from that last film. I will say I didn't enjoy their performances as much as the last one. They didn't really seem as interested in this film compared to Apocalypse. Carlos in particular, he's kind of there more for a romance with Alice than anything else. He does have some great scenes with other characters, but overall he's just kind of there to explain who Alice is to this new group and to kind of have a romantic longing for her. LJ as well, you know, he is in there for the comedy factor for sure. He has a bit of a romance going, but he is also killed off way too early in the movie. That was one of the biggest disappointments I had with this movie. He did provide a lot of the comedy and that just kind of disintegrated once the movie went on and he got killed off. We also get the return of Dr. Isaacs, and kind of following the path of Day of the Dead, he's trying to control these zombies after all these years. So that's his entire storyline, is really kind of finding out how he can control the zombies, while at the same time trying to find a clone or a better version of Alice. He knows Alice is out there, but the movie very early on reveals that there is many different versions of Alice. So Alice herself, she wakes up at the start of the movie right back at that mansion, and we get a recreation of the opening scene. Now this Alice, she doesn't last as long, and we kind of find out Umbrella are trying to find their best version of her. We also get Albert Wesker in this one. I didn't enjoy him at all. I just thought he was there just to kind of please the fans and show them there's somebody there from a game. I definitely think they could have kept him for a later movie in the series. Dr. Isaacs was enough that we needed in this movie. Again, he was over the top, but we didn't really need two stereotypical villains that just kind of came across as comical after a while. Parts, however, I didn't enjoy about his storyline was the whole clone series they have going forward in the series with Alice. I didn't enjoy that at all. I thought, again, it was just taking things away from the horror elements of the movie and moving towards sci-fi. So all of that, even the White Queen herself, you know, she wasn't a very interesting character, again, compared to the Red Queen. I didn't like how events unfolded as the movie went on. Even as I said, killing off LJ was just a bit poor. Same for Carlos. I thought where we led the movie as the film progressed just wasn't as interesting as that first half. We also get some new and returning B.O.W.s, starting with the dogs. Once again, just like the last movie, they are actually quite a bit improved. They are kept in the dark, but the practical effects are finally looked after. The dogs in the film, they are kind of showing up at the start of the movie, but they actually have scarring. You know, they have wounds on them. They do still slightly look like they have, you know, buckets of blood thrown over them, but you don't see them on screen too much. Even the shots where they're kind of attacking Alice, they are all quick shots. So I do like that start of the movie where we get the dogs. Again, they're just improved and they're a lot scarier than the last film. We also get the birds making their entrance in the film series. I did really enjoy that sequence. It's actually one of my favourites in the whole film. The special effects for the most part in that scene are also up to par. What I do know is from watching the behind the scenes, only 2 birds were actually used for that sequence. Everything else is CGI, and for the most part it does work. The birds look great. That entire set piece, that action scene works really well, and I love Alice's introduction. Her powers are on full show here and she takes everything in sight out. In the opening scene of the movie and towards the end of the film, we do get a recreation of the mansion from the first movie. If this film had been kind of a trilogy, I would have absolutely loved that, how it brought everything back to that first movie. I do still enjoy it. I think it was done extremely well. The laser scene and again recreating that opening from the first movie are some of the greater scenes in the film. At the same time though, it was unnecessary to go back there. I get that they were doing it for the whole clone storyline, but I wish they had something bigger and better, given that this was the 3rd movie. But just overall guys, with this one for me, I do love the visuals, I love the cinematography of this one. As I said, it is definitely the most unique movie in the entire series. I do love the birds, I love the dogs, and all the different B.O.W.s we get in this one, including the Tyrant. He is absolutely terrifying towards the end of this movie. At the same time, I don't like that certain characters were killed off. Characters like Jill Valentine weren't really mentioned, or Angela. They were kind of just left out for no reason at all. And as well as that, the movie tends to go towards the sci-fi route over horror. We do get to see that more as the series goes on, and I just enjoyed it less and less. Alice, as I said, she was great returning in the movie. Her pairing with Claire Redfield were one of the better parts of the overall movie. I didn't like kind of, you know, her sci-fi elements and her newfound powers, because it just kind of made her a little bit too much like a superhero than anything else. Yes, you could still relate to the character, and she does have some genuinely emotional scenes in the movie, but just the more powerful she gets, the less you can relate to her. But although I do definitely have issues with this movie, I do still enjoy watching it. As I said, visually it is one of the most stunning in the series. I do like the returning characters and new characters such as Claire Redfield. The B.O.W.s are definitely top notch in the film, and it does have some incredibly great action sequences. The things that let it down, as I said, are the sci-fi and the whole clone storyline. I'm just not a fan of it in general. If you like the movie guys, of course leave your comments down below, and if you're not a fan of it at all, leave your comments there also. If you can guys, make sure you follow me on social media, give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Next up, we are looking at the 4th entry in the Resident Evil series, Resident Evil Afterlife. Until then, hidey ho.